Cool, solid. All right, you guys, let's just get right into it. You guys can see the topics right here. Before we get into this, I actually want you guys to, if you guys have not already seen it, I am actually opening up a premium membership type of content on my channel. Basically, all you got to do is just go to the channel. If you're on Android or iPhone, you see it to the right. If you're on a desktop, you see it to the left. Go join, and I'm going to be putting a ton of good stuff up on that premium part of this channel. Now, it's not required, right? Obviously, I'll still be posting and making videos like the one right now, but I would highly appreciate if you guys were able to join, because it does help this channel. I do want to let you guys know, obviously, I know I mentioned it in the past, but YouTube definitely does not like videos of film to be shown, because that film is actually owned, obviously, by a different party, which is the NFL. So when you upload that film to YouTube, a lot of the times, YouTube will automatically demonetize it. So it does kind of suck because it takes 3-4 hours sometimes to make those videos. And of course, I have two types of videos, right? I have those film studies, and I also have like my game recap type studies, and YouTube doesn't touch those videos. But if you guys are able to join, I'd really appreciate it. Again, I have content that I kind of want to get into. Here's the full right here you see on the screen. One of the things I do want to note though is I am going to be doing a question and answer at the end of this video. So if you guys have questions, make sure to put them in the chat there. I do want to also note on that video will be pretty long, 20 to 30 minutes. With that being said, I won't be able to answer all the questions. So if you guys have a question that you really want me to touch on, leave a super chat, right? It helps this channel, and it makes sure your guys' questions stay at the top. And it'll allow me to answer them at the end. But let's just get right into this, starting with some film notes, right? You guys know that I absolutely love watching film, all right? Like, I spend at least 2 to 3 hours every day watching film. So like, for example, yesterday, I spent a ton of time watching the Chargers game. A couple of things jumped out to me right away. First and foremost, Isaiah Johnson. Obviously, everybody saw those 2 plays at the end of the game where he won us the game. But there were way more plays other than just those 2 plays. Isaiah Johnson was laying people out. And when I say laying people out, there's a video. Obviously, I can't show it to you guys because we're live. But there's this video, and I'll post it to my Twitter, where the wide receiver, I don't know which wide receiver it is, was running at Isaiah Johnson, and Isaiah Johnson laid him out. And it was beautiful to watch because you don't see that from a corner that often. Like, we see that from Jonathan Abram all the time, but we don't see that from a corner. And Isaiah Johnson, of course, you guys know, he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's a big dude. And there was like a 5'11" wide receiver running at him, and Isaiah Johnson just decleated him. I'll post it to my Twitter. So if you guys aren't following me on Twitter or Instagram, I'll post it to both. Make sure you guys follow me on those. But Isaiah Johnson had a really good game. And here's the thing. There's a good chance Isaiah Johnson is going to end up being our starter again. Trayvon Mullen hasn't practiced. He has that hamstring injury. Which is kind of concerning. It's different if he was already practicing, but obviously, as you guys know, he's not practicing. With that being stated, a couple other things I noticed on film was Corey Littleton as well as Nick Kwiatkowski. Both guys, and be mindful here, I'm also talking about Corey Littleton. I know a lot of people don't like Corey Littleton at the moment. Both guys actually had a really good game, right? Nick Kwiatkowski had a huge stop for the Raiders in the goal line, and that stop right there made it so the game was not tied, right? That stop was the biggest play of the game. And other than Nick Kwiatkowski, Corey Littleton also had a really good game. I know a lot of people don't talk about it because we see so many plays where he allows a catch for a first down, right? Or he allows a 30-yard catch to Travis Kelce. And just a reminder, if you guys haven't watched my film study, I just posted it a couple of days ago on Corey Littleton. Go check that video out. But Corey Littleton did a great job, in my opinion. One of the things I really like about Corey Littleton is the fact that he is really good in coverage. And I know a lot of the times when we watch it from the broadcast angle, we don't necessarily see it, right? Because when he does give up a catch, the broadcast angle is going to replay that one play 2 or 3 times. And to us, it looks like, wow, this guy's just giving up catches all the time. But on an overall level, if you watch plays that the broadcast is not pointing out, Corey Littleton does a really good job. Is he worth the $35 million that we're going to pay him this year and the next 2 years after that? That's for the coaches to decide, right? But to me, it looks like he does have a very important role within this defense, and he does a good job on a whole to allow Nick Kwiatkowski to do some things that he might not otherwise be able to do. I think Kwiatkowski was the bigger pickup between the two because Corey Littleton had these huge expectations. Kwiatkowski really didn't have those expectations. So I think there's definitely a big difference there, right? If Kwiatkowski had to do some of the things that the Raiders are asking Corey Littleton to do, would he be the same type of linebacker that we see him as? I don't know, right? There's a chance he probably would not. Another thing I noticed, sticking with the film, the offensive line, specifically Denzel Good and Gabe Jackson, are so freaking dominant. And it's crazy to watch how these guys move people. And you guys know this, that before the season, I was saying the Raiders should potentially move on from Gabe Jackson and put Denzel Good at that right guard position. Here's the thing. Gabe Jackson's making a lot of money, and the last 2 years before this year, he was hurt. So I personally felt that maybe we can move on and we can potentially get a better player. But to be honest with you guys, I was wrong. Gabe Jackson is looking like a superstar. I saw so many plays where he's just laying people out. And then other than him, Denzel Good also is laying people out. We had guys at right tackle, we had Sam Young. At left tackle, we had Brandon Parker. That last year, if that was the case, our O-line would have been in trouble. But this year specifically, Denzel Good, Rodney Hudson, and Gabe Jackson are holding it down. And they put people down. And what's craziest to me is the fact that we played some of the top tier defenses, right? The Bills, the Patriots, the Buccaneers. The Chiefs technically had a pretty good defense coming into the Raiders game. The Chargers defense is pretty good as well. The Saints defense is pretty good as well. And the offensive line held up. Going forward, think about our schedule. Like, we have the Broncos coming up. The Chiefs defense is not what it was the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then we have other teams like the Dolphins, who, even though they're a pretty good team, I think the Raiders can beat them. We have the Jets on our schedule. The Broncos and Chargers twice, right? Or the Chargers once more. The rest of the schedule is super easy. I looked at the 8 games that we have left, and 4 of the 8, I think, are 100% wins for the Raiders. Like, they're super easy teams if the Raiders just show up. The other 4, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Falcons are going to be the 4 games that, they can go either way. The Raiders have to absolutely show up for those games too. But at the very minimum, the Raiders should win 9 games, right? More than 9 games is what I think. But at the very minimum, 9 games. Denzel Good, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson, in my opinion, are the key 3 players for this offense to go. It makes it so much easier for DC. DC almost never gets touched, which is crazy because although our pass rush kind of sucks, I was watching some other teams for fun, and I noticed one of the things that happens with these other teams is the offensive line sucks. And oftentimes, like with the Broncos, for example, I was watching them, that O-line is bad. There was so much pressure that Drew Lock was getting. And I feel like with the Raiders, we don't have those issues. Like, DC has a ton of time to throw it. And the offensive line is such a big part for the Raiders. And I just kind of wanted to give a huge shout out to Good and to Gabe Jackson because both guys have been playing fantastic. The last thing I want to talk about, and the one thing I noticed in my film, was regarding Henry Ruggs. And this is a very touchy topic. First and foremost, I know us Raider fans love our players, right? And that includes Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs is supposed to be the Raiders superstar. And I know he's only 8 games into his NFL career. Actually less than that because technically he didn't play every single week. But he really hasn't performed to where we thought he should perform. Here's the thing, right? People, at least this is what I've heard when I make the comment that he hasn't played to where he's played. People say that Henry Ruggs, obviously he's a rookie, but he opens up the offense, right? Those deep shots, it makes those safeties back up. And that is kind of true. And I say kind of true because this year is the first year we've had any sort of deep threat, right? Henry Ruggs is not our only deep threat. And he's not even the best deep threat, right? Let's be 100% honest. The best deep threat for this team is Nelson Agholor, right? Agholor has the second most deep catches in the NFL at the moment right now. He is the guy that's opening this offense up. It's not Henry Ruggs. Now, here's the thing, though. Maybe Aguilar's getting a little bit more open because people have to focus in on Henry Ruggs. But at the same time, Henry Ruggs has not played to where we think he should play. I think the one thing this offense is missing is they're missing that guy. Other than Darren Waller, they're missing that wide receiver that can beat a corner for 15 yards in the middle of the field, or for 10 yards, or for 5 yards, or for 6 yards. I think we're missing that right now. And I bring all that up to talk about what you guys think the Raiders should have done in the draft. Think about it. We took Henry Ruggs, and there were a couple of other players we could have taken, including Jerry Judy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson is a very good player right now as well. T. Higgins has stepped up. There's a lot of really good wide receivers. Brandon Ayuk for the Niners is very, very good as well. And we took Henry Ruggs, and I want to know what you guys think. Obviously he's still a rookie, right? So don't think that I'm writing him off. I'm not. I'm just asking you guys. How do you guys feel about that pick so far? Do you think it's going to continue to be successful for the Raiders? Nelson Aguilar is, I think, 27, so he's still super young as well. I can see Aguilar being with the Raiders for the next 3, 4, 5 years, right? Obviously, Ruggs and Carr, I will say one thing is they don't have that connection down. Derek Carr has thrown Ruggs at least 2 deep passes that were very solid balls, right? And one came against the Browns, which he almost got his feet in for that touchdown. The second was this past week against the Chargers. He ended up not getting his feet in bounds, but it was a beautifully placed ball by DC. Keeping in mind, Henry Ruggs gets like 2 deep shots, right, a game, and oftentimes they have not connected yet. But I want to know what you guys think. How do you guys think we fix that? Right, going forward, is it DC? Is it Ruggs? Would you guys rather have had a different wide receiver? I want to know what you guys think. Make sure to leave a comment in the live chat. I do plan, for you guys that might not think I might not go back, but I do plan to go back and rewatch this video and read what you guys are typing in the comments live, right? And I might even do a video answering some of those questions. So just stay tuned for that. But I want to move forward and get a little bit past the whole film part of it. And I want to get into injuries a little bit because I think this is going to be a huge deal for the Raiders. First and foremost, one of the best parts of the injury report is the players that are coming back. Bryan Edwards is practicing fully, and he was technically healthy last week. I think he played a couple of snaps last week, but he had no targets, he had no catches. But he is fully practicing, which means he is going to fully play this week. Here's the thing. In my opinion anyways, Bryan Edwards is a very good player. And I think that given the opportunity, Bryan Edwards could be a top player in this offense. I think Bryan Edwards has the skill set of Darren Waller. I think he could be that good. People were saying he's a first-round pick prior to his injury. And I would not be surprised if when he does come back fully healthy, assuming this is the week he's fully healthy, if he puts up over 100 yards. I would not be shocked or surprised. Great news with that. Some unfortunate news is Mo Hurst, Colton Miller, and Trayvon Mullen all have not practiced, and that is going to be killer. I love Trayvon Mullen. I think he has so much potential. I love Colton Miller. In my opinion, I think the Raiders have one of the top left tackles in Colton Miller, especially when you consider the potential factor, right? He's in his 3rd year. He's super young. He's only going to get better, right? Watch Colton Miller in his 5th, 6th, or 7th year. He's going to be dominating. And then even Mo Hurst, right? So it's a big loss. He's a good pass rusher. None of those guys have practiced. Chances are most likely they will not play. Obviously, we'll find out today if any of those guys have practiced. Obviously, I'm recording this video in the morning, so I don't know if the reports will be out there until maybe a little bit later on. But we need those guys back. And, staying with the injury factor, Alec Gingold, how impressive is it that you broke 2 ribs when a defensive tackle landed on top of you and you're willing to play still? The dude was in a hospital. And just literally a couple days ago, and he's back and he's ready to play. It's crazy. Fullback is a really tough position already, but this just shows you how tough the guy is. I honestly feel it's better if he just rested, relaxed, and did not play, right? I think we can go 1 game without him and to let him kind of heal up and see how he's feeling, right? You would never want him to jump back in there and then, something negative happens. He hurts himself more or something else could happen. I feel like it's good we're going to get him back, but at the same time, I feel like he should just rest and not play this week. But it's impressive nonetheless. I think Alec Gingold is a very good fullback. He's clicked way faster than I initially thought. I thought it was going to take him longer because the fullback position is kind of hard. Right, there's not a whole lot of fullbacks. Think about it. There's probably 1,000 fullbacks out there, right, ready to play in the NFL, and maybe 7 or 8 on an active roster. So you have to be a top tier fullback to actually make a roster. The injury updates, I think, we'll kind of get a little bit more at the end of today. Chances are, if you don't practice today, you're not going to play going into this week. So I think the one player we absolutely need is Kolton Miller. Brandon Parker has done a great job, but I would rather let Brandon Parker play right tackle, and I'd rather take Sam Young out because Sam Young's not very good. Hopefully Kolton Miller's okay to play. Ankle injuries are no joke, But I want to move forward and talk a little bit about the playoff standings because I think this is very important. First and foremost, one extra team makes the playoff this year, right? So you got 4 teams that are automatically going to win the division, and then you have a bunch of other teams that are potentially going to three will get in and the rest will fall off. Now here's the thing: at the very moment, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Browns, the Ravens are 5-3. And the Ravens are 6-2. So that's 4 teams right there, with the Raiders being the 5th team, that are going to be fighting for those 3 spots, right? And the interesting part is we still have to play the Colts and the Dolphins. We beat the Browns already. So the game against the Dolphins and the Colts, it's going to be huge in case of any sort of tiebreaker. But other than those 4 teams, the Pats and the Broncos are 3-5. They're not out of this at all. The Patriots lost 2 games, literally on fumbles essentially, right? Cam Newton fumbled the ball twice, and they lost. Otherwise, they could have at least, at a minimum, tied the game. And I think there was another game earlier on this season where Cam Newton tried running a 2-point conversion in. I think it was against the Seahawks, and he got stuffed at the goal line, and they lost that game because of that as well. The Patriots could easily be 5-3, 6-2 right now. They're not a bad team, right? Obviously, they've had some injuries. They've had people opt out. But the Patriots are still right in it as well. And if the Broncos beat the Raiders, they're right back into it. So this game is not a joke. And the Raiders really have to show up. Cannot take it lightly. If we show up and take this game lightly, we're going to get our asses kicked, right? The Broncos are not a weak team. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But just to kind of stay in the playoff standings, the Raiders are right there. Right now we'd be in the playoffs. But obviously, there's still 8 games left to go. So if the Raiders want to make the playoffs, we really have to step up, and we really have to win a bunch of games. And I think the Dolphins and Colts games are the biggest games we have to win. We can lose to the Broncos and we can lose to the Chargers. That will not impact us as much as if we lost the Dolphins and Colts, because then we get a loss and they get a win, right? You flip that, if we beat both of those teams, then both those teams get a loss, right? That's a way bigger impact on this team. The playoffs are going to be interesting. Another thing, technically the Ravens and the Steelers could still flip, right? I think the Ravens are 6-2. The Steelers, I think, are undefeated still. So they can still switch. Technically, the Raiders, if we beat the Chiefs once more, we can still switch with the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are a really good team, right? I think the next time we play the Chiefs, it's going to be a very interesting matchup because they're going to be motivated. It's a primetime game. They're going to be motivated because they lost, and it's their only loss, right? But the Raiders are going to be motivated too. We beat them, and we know we can beat them going forward. So I'm very pumped up for that game, but I'm pumped up for the Raiders and Broncos game as well. That's coming up literally this Sunday. And this game, one of my friends is a Broncos fan. I actually have a couple of friends who are Broncos fans. And all I ever heard from those guys are something to the tune. And if you guys have Bronco fan friends, I'm sure they say the same thing. And that's thank you for giving us Jerry Judy. They think Jerry Judy is some sort of god. And, I've watched him. He kind of reminds me of Amari Cooper, where he's a really good route runner, right? He might be a little bit more aggressive than Amari Cooper, but that's kind of what his game is, right? He's a really good route runner. Jerry Judy is a good player. And again, that's the one comment I always hear is thank you for giving us Jerry Judy. I think we're okay with Henry Ruggs. I think he'll eventually step up. But with this game, if the Raiders show up and think it's going to be easy game. We're going to get our asses kicked because first and foremost, it's the division game, right? The Raiders are a way better team than the Chargers, right? But because it was a division game, it literally came down to one final play. And that one final play could have given us a loss. Obviously, we got the win, but it could come down to that same type of thing with the Broncos. You know, one of the positives I'd say is Jerry Judy and Justin Simmons did not practice as of yesterday. We'll see if they practice today. If they don't practice, they most likely will not play. I think Justin Simmons, chances are he doesn't play. Chances are Jerry Judy will play. But we'll kind of find out, right, as the next couple of days come on. But I think the biggest thing the Raiders are going to have to do to win this game is they're going to have to stop the pass rush of the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos have a really good front, in my opinion. They have Bradley Chubb and Shelby Harris. And you guys know who Shelby Harris is, the ex-Raider. He was on this team, I think, for a year, maybe 2 years. And he was a player we liked, you know, and the Raiders ended up cutting him. But he's went to a different team, and he's turned his whole career around. And I'm happy for him. Even though he's on the Broncos, I'm very happy that an ex-Raider was able to be given an opportunity somewhere else and succeed and you know, set his family up, right, by having that success in the NFL. But he's a really good player. Between him, Bradley Chubb, and Malik Reed, those guys right there are going to be very tough for the Raiders to stop. Combined, they have, I think, 13 or 14 sacks. And then on top of that, they have a bunch of quarterback hits. Like, I counted, I think 15 to 20 quarterback hits between those guys, which means they're going to get after DC. They have a couple other good pass rushers as well. Their secondary is okay, but the Raiders should be able to take advantage of that. But the only way we're going to be able to take advantage of that is if we stop that pass rush. And that's where Gabe Jackson, Denzel Good, potentially Colton Miller coming back is really going to help this team. With all that being stated, the Raiders are going to have to run the football and run it successfully. Against the Chargers, we were able to pop, 10, 15, 20-yard runs throughout the whole game. But in the second half, the Chargers shut us down. And, they shut our run game down. And here's what happens when you shut our run game down. We scored so many points in the first half. In the second half, specifically the middle of the third to fourth quarter, the Raiders had no success running the ball. And that allowed the Chargers to get right back into the game. And because of that, because of the fact that the Chargers were able to get back into the game, they did that by stopping the run. So the Broncos are going to come out and they're going to want to stop the run. And this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to, first and foremost, take those deep shots. Aguilar and Henry Ruggs, they got to go deep. Darren Waller, throw him a deep pass. I read a statistic that he last year averaged over 6 yards per target. But this year, he's averaging 3 yards a target, right? We need to get Waller downfield, right? He's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He's one of the best playmakers in the NFL. Give him those opportunities. But we have to go deep, right? And that alone is going to open up everything else for the Raiders, right? If we go deep, it's going to open up the run game. And we have to run the ball to win the game. If we cannot run the ball, we're not going to win this game because what happens is then we get one-dimensional. Right, and then we're going to have to throw the ball. And John Gruden's offense is a quick passing offense, which means that we're going to run the ball for 5 yards. We're going to run the ball for 8 yards. And now the defense might think, okay, they're going to throw it. But we're not. We're going to run the ball again for 4 yards. We're going to run the ball again for 6 yards, right? We're going to keep running the ball. And then right as the defense kind of commits to the run, we're going to play action and throw it for 3 yards, right? And that's it. We're going to just get 3 yards on a quick pass. Now the defense has to think, okay, they just did a play action, threw it for 3 yards. So on the next play, the defense is going to think, okay, they're going to play action or whatever and throw it for a quick pass. I'm going to hit them with the run again, right? It's a very basic offense, but the whole point of it is it's a quick passing offense, which means that we can run the ball and we can run the clock out, right? The way we beat teams is by controlling the time of possession. Now, that didn't happen against the Chargers because in the second half specifically, we didn't have a ton of long drives. But we need to win the time of possession. We need to control the clock. The Raiders can absolutely win, but it's going to be a very, very tough game. That video actually went way quicker than I thought it was going to go. So I'm actually going to see if there's any comments that we can go through, right? Let's check out some of these comments from you guys. First and foremost, I'm going to check and see if there's any super chat comments. If there are not, I'll just go through whatever I can see here. I don't even know how to check. Oh, I see one. John Q, thank you first and foremost for the super chat. Let me see if there's an easier way to quickly look at the super chat. If there's not, we'll just get right into your question. Should rugs ever be considered for kick return? That was by John Q. I want to know what you guys think about that, but here's what I think. Maybe not kick return. Kick return and punt return are not the same, right? I think a lot of the time us fans kind of think, oh, it's the same exact thing. It's not the same. A kick return is way harder to return than punt return. Kick return, in my opinion, one, you're only going to return, if there's 7 kickoffs, you're going to return 2 in a game because the other 5 are just going to go out of the end zone. But on a kick return, you're more likely to get hurt because what ends up happening is you're going to run full speed one way and the other guy's going to come full speed towards you. And there's going to be a huge impact somewhere, right? And it might not happen every single time, but it will happen. So I don't think Ruggs should ever kick return because I would never want him to get hurt. Punt return is different. I would be open for Henry Ruggs to get some sort of a punt return. And here's why. Henry Ruggs is fast, right? On a punt return, once the guy catches the ball, everybody's like within 5 to 10 yards of him, right? But they're still running. So what ends up happening is if Henry Ruggs can shift just a little bit, maybe 3 yards to his right, chances are these guys are going to run right past him. And Henry Ruggs has that speed and burst to just take off at that point. And I think if Henry Ruggs did return punts, chances are he can definitely make things happen. I think the Broncos had Judy returning punts. I even saw CD Lamb returning punts for the Cowboys. I would not be opposed to the Raiders having Ruggs take any punt returns. Here's the thing, though, right? If you let Ruggs return punts, right now the Raiders punt returner is Hunter Renfrow. And in my opinion, Hunter Renfrow is never, ever going to take a punt 80 yards, right? He's never going to sprint past someone. He might occasionally, but most of the time he's not. But this is what Hunter Renfrow is going to do. And this is what Julian Edelman used to do for the Patriots, right? If the opposing team punts the ball to the Raiders, Hunter Renfrow is going to catch the ball at the 25-yard line, right? And what Renfrow is going to do is he's going to pick up 13 yards, right? It's going to be a slow, get through a couple people's 13 yards. But what that does is instead of starting off at the 25-yard line, we're now starting off at the 38-yard line. And that makes it so much easier and benefits the Raiders so much. Now, the thing with Ruggs is going to catch the ball, and he might try running right. He might try running left to, get to that outside, and he might not get any yards. He might even lose a couple yards trying to get to the outside. Renfrow doesn't do that. He catches the ball, he finds the hole, and he gets 10 yards. I personally like that. I would rather keep Renfrow out there for that specific reason. If you guys have NFL Game Pass, go back and watch our punt returns. Or if you guys have some sort of way to go watch special teams, go watch our punt returns and watch Renfrow. He always picks up 5 to 20 yards on every single punt return. Or if you guys don't have access to that, just watch the next game against the Broncos. You're going to see that Renfrow always picks up those yards. But with that being stated, I would not be mad with having Henry Ruggs return at least 1 or 2 punts a game. I think it could definitely have that ability to pop off for the Raiders, right? I hope that answered your question, John Q. I really appreciate it, and I clearly see right here. I have my computer here. I see there's only 1 super chat, so I'm gonna go through this and read 2 or 3 more questions. All right, Marcus Lincoln said, "Hey Sanjit, thanks for keeping your content relevant. I appreciate that you don't entertain all kinds of far-reaching rumors just to get views." I absolutely appreciate that because I know that is one of the things that does happen, right? If I started focusing this channel around rumors and stuff like that, I 100% know that I will get more views, right? Actually, for a short period of time, I actually did that. I would focus around clickbaits and some of that kind of stuff. I feel like if if I do my film studies and if I do my game recaps and just kind of stay around that, I feel like it's a better channel. It's a better experience for most people. Another thing, I think there are some people out there that feel like doing those, doing rumors and stuff like that, it allows your channel to grow faster. And there are channels out there that do that. But again, that's not something that I'm into. I think just kind of sticking to the topic makes sense for me. I see a couple other questions. Some people are making comments. There's actually a lot of questions. So I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go through these and I'm going to actually make a list. And I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I am going to go through some of these questions. And I absolutely want to. But I do want to just point out a couple of comments from you guys. You guys are saying things like, great job. Your channel grew on me. You do a good job. And I see a lot of these types of comments. People saying, you know, stay professional and all these kinds of things. And I really appreciate it. And that is something I 100% do strive for, right? At times, there are times where I don't feel like making videos, right? It happens all the time. I don't want to spend 4 hours. I don't want to spend 5 hours making a video. But then when I read comments like this, it does make me want to continue making videos. And to another point, you know, making videos on this channel is not something that make so much money that I can retire. I can stop working and just focus on the YouTube videos. It's not even close, right? And that is why it gets really, really hard at times, because I still work 9 hours every single day. So I work 9 hours, and then once I'm tired, I come in, I have to make a video, and it takes another 5 hours, right? So I have 13, 14 hours a day that I'm spending between my work and making my YouTube videos. And you know, if I could make only YouTube videos, I think the content would be better, the production would be better, right? There's some YouTubers, specifically like SanjitRaider, even Raider Cody. You know, you guys should go check those guys out if you haven't already checked them out. But the production to their videos, it's top notch. Like, you know, I got to give a huge shout out to those guys because they do a really good job with their production. Even Mitchell Rents, right, with the Las Vegas Raiders Report, he does a great job with his production. I don't do that, right? All you guys see is this right here, right? And, you know, there's not these crazy things popping up and all that. And the reason why is because, again, I do work 9 hours a day. So it definitely gets stressful. It definitely gets hard. But I absolutely love doing it because, you know, your guys' comments like the ones I read right now. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, man. And if you guys did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And I do plan to go live more often. Just so you guys have that heads up. Make sure to hit that notification bar on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.